This is Lisa from MobileTechReview, and this is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon 10th Gen 30th Anniversary Edition. How do you tell it's a 30th Anniversary Edition, besides the fact that it says it on the palm rest? You have the little ThinkPad throwback RGB logo over here. Other than that, it's basically the same with a different little bit of packaging and some RGB track points in the box. Now, they're making 5,000 of these, but you know what? We never got around to reviewing the ThinkPad X1 Carbon 10th Gen, not Anniversary Edition, so I'm going to cover what that's all about as well in case you're in the market for one. We're going to look at it now. So the Anniversary Edition is basically a top spec'd out model. You have a Core i7 vPro inside a 4K display, 32 gigs of RAM, which is the max that you can get, and a 1 terabyte PCIe 4 SSD. It costs a little bit more than if it wasn't an Anniversary Edition, but not much more. So if you're enthusiastic about it, hey, and you can still find it available because it was on their website yesterday. It disappeared today. Did they sell them all out? I don't know. Anyway, in general, for the 10th generation, what's different from the 9th gen? Not a lot. We still have a 16:10 aspect ratio display, which is welcome here. But now we have a full HD webcam instead of a 720p webcam. That's always good, with some noise reduction software built in for a visual noise reduction so that you look, well, less blotchy, noisy. Yeah. And we've got Intel 12th generation processors inside. So interestingly, Lenovo went with mostly the P series. So there's the U and the P series for Ultrabooks. The U is the more common, and it's the 15-watt Ultrabook CPU. P series goes up to 28 watt. So there is a base Core i5 model that has the U series processor, and all the rest are the P series processors. So you've got 4 performance cores and 8 efficiency cores on board, which is a lot more cores than the 9th gen, but I'll talk a little bit about the performance difference as we go on in this review. Oh, and the Anniversary Edition comes in special packaging. The molded inner box is made of bamboo and sugarcane, which sounds like something a sugar-loving panda would be into. I tasted it, didn't taste that good. But anyway, it's environmentally friendly. And inside you get the RGB track points, like I said, and a little literature that reflects that it's a 30th edition. And we have some new display options. Now, maybe Lenovo went a little overboard because there are 7 display options. Yeah, so you've got anything, you know, these will all be plus because of the 16:10 aspect ratio. They're a little bit taller than usual, but a full HD plus display, your choice of touch or non-touch. All of these are reasonably bright, 400 to 500 nit, by the way. Then there are the 2.8K display options, the 2880 pixels wide. So, and therein you'll also find an OLED option too. And then we have the 4K options that we have, which are available in touch or non-touch, 500 nits, and those are IPS. So a lot of them are kind of duplicates of the other, just whether you want touch or non-touch, you get the idea. So ours is the 4K touchscreen, and I'm happy to report that despite the fact it's a touchscreen, the glare is pretty minimal on this. You know, it's by no means a shiny display, nor is it super matte, which is nice. You get some of the contrastiness of something that doesn't have a very etched or matte overlay on the display. And yeah, it looks nice, right? And lastly, for improvements, the trackpad got a little bit wider, 110 millimeters wide. Honestly, it's a very roomy trackpad. It was even last generation, given the size of the laptop, a 14-inch laptop, right? And the keyboard, as ever, is that wonderful ThinkPad. Oh, feels so good to type on keyboard. It's just delightful. Unlike when Lenovo did their 25th Anniversary Edition and they put a retro keyboard, and that was 5 years ago when people were still missing the retro, even deeper travel keyboard. Clearly that's not something you can do on the Carbon because it's one of the thinnest and lightest laptops on the market. About 2.48 pounds, which is about 1.12 kilograms. Yeah. Despite the fact that it's so thin and light, one of the darling things about this versus, say, a Dell XPS 13 or even an M2 MacBook Air is the fact that you get plenty of legacy ports. You got 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports on board. Yay, modern, yes, good. One of them is used by the USB-C charger, or if you use a USB-C or Thunderbolt dock, you can charge that way too. But you've got 2 USB-A 3.2 ports, a HDMI jack, you don't see that much anymore, and a headphone jack. Yo. And if you go with the 4G or 5G Fibicom WAN modems, then you've got a nano SIM card slot as well. So let's talk about performance, because Intel 12th generation adds a lot more cores to the mix, doesn't it? You got 4 performance, you've got 8 efficiency cores, yay cores. The performance is certainly increased over the previous generation, enough to make you upgrade from a 9th gen. I think not, but it's nice to see that. The Intel Iris Xe graphics, less of a performance jump. So if you're doing multi-core work, obviously the more cores the better. That's when you see the greatest improvement. However, because this is a P-series 28-watt processor, it's not the most friendly to battery life, right? It's not a mobile workstation 45-watt processor, but it's still going to eat more battery than a 15-watt processor would. So keep that in mind, especially if you want to pair it with like a 2.8K display or 2.8K OLED, or the 4K displays, which will also consume a lot of power. This won't be an Energizer Bunny. So I'm seeing like 6 hours of battery life versus about 9 hours on the 9th generation model. And it is the processor difference, and also the fact that this time we have the 4K display that is, well, the reason why. Heat and noise on it, though, aren't bad, which is pretty impressive given how thin and light this is. I would expect more thermal throttling from it and a lot of heat and a lot of, well, noise. None of those is the case, so they've got that under control. By the way, if you're not into Windows 10 or Windows 11, which are options, they also have Ubuntu and Fedora Linux as a build-to-order option as well. Yay! As ever, the speakers on this are, well, pretty good for a business laptop, honestly, pretty loud and pretty full. And you've got quad array mics, which it says even on the little lip above where the camera is. You do have an option for an IR Windows Hello webcam, and a fingerprint scanner is embedded in the power button as well. And of course, you have a DTPM 2.0 on board. If you want to upgrade this, yeah, good luck with that. You have a M2 2280 standard height SSD that you can upgrade. Everything else is soldered on. The RAM, which you can get in 8, 16, or 32 gigs, is soldered on. The Wi-Fi card is soldered on. So yeah, we're not looking at upgradability here. And you can, of course, access the 57 watt-hour battery if you need to, well, replace it at some point. So that's the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon 10th Gen, particularly the anniversary edition here. And even if you don't get the anniversary edition, you know what you're getting into with an X1 Carbon. Just a little shorter on battery life this year, depending particularly on which processor you go with and which display option you go with. But still, I mean, you know, for people who don't like this aesthetic, you never will. But for people who do like the ThinkPad aesthetic, the carbon fiber lid on this, the magnesium alloy bottom section, it's a very durable laptop. It has more ports than a lot of its competitors these days, so obviously there's a reason to still consider it. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.